Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush amdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen, ishbata.
Bakher agale, ni hao, chunu shumbe, washbale, ohai, gunzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suavi, balli kare aaya. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You're watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very intelligent Miss Shiza Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. It's a very fine Monday morning over here in Islamabad, and we hope and pray that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
Doing absolutely great. Thank you so much for asking. And I hope your weekend was great, though. What
Yeah,
did
it
you
was
do?
great. It was great. I think everything was perfect. On Friday, I got to see my friends.
Oh,
On
nice.
Sunday, I got to see my family, even though half of the family showed up, but the rest of the people were busy doing whatever they wanted to do. So, yeah, I think everybody has got the freedom to do whatever they want to do. But
Of
other than
course.
that, I
It's a
think.
free country.
Yeah, it's a free country. We are free people. And I think it's great to kind of enjoy life whenever you get the chance. So, for everybody who's
Absolutely.
out there, if you get a chance today, make sure that you live it to the best.
Well, that was a beautiful
Yeah.
message. I think let's take that forward, all right?
Yeah, take it
So
forward.
so when you say that you have to make the best of life, what comes to your mind first? So I'm asking you that because for a lot of people, it can be, you must have heard the very common sentiment, money cannot buy happiness. But
Yeah.
then there's a counter narrative that if you don't know where to shop, that is when you don't know where to buy happiness. So
Exactly.
which one are you? Do you think happiness is just like sort of related to one particular quantifiable thing like money?
No, I totally disagree with that. But I partially agree with it as well, not totally. And it's
Okay.
because of the fact that imagine that, I would love to go back to my house, because I know that my daughters are waiting. And as soon as I open the door, my youngest daughter kinds of yell, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And, I think that I'm the happiest man at that particular point of
Mashallah.
time. And this is what I look forward to as well, being with my kids. In fact, I just enjoy. I'm so thankful to Allah Almighty for giving me these amazing blessed daughters as well, and the time I enjoy with them. But having said that, I think I have a very different perception of money itself, and it's because of the fact that I only am not saying that you shouldn't ask Allah for anything. I mean, if there's anything in my life, I think that the first thing ever I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask Allah, and I'm going to
course.
ask Allah, "Miyan jitna bhi de sakte hain de dein."
Okay.
को अल्लाह नहीं देना है तो फिर why should we actually stop about it, or why shouldn't we ask? But then I do not kind of confuse myself with what I might be needing in the next year, or in next 2 years what my responsibilities would be. So whatever I have today in my pocket, I would happily enjoy that and not think about tomorrow. In fact, obviously everybody comes across these insecurities where they think about, oh, you know what, they're growing up, we have to kind of send them to school, they have to get married, the very Pakistani thought process as well. But I do not kind of bother myself with all of these thoughts, because what I remember is that when I was born, I was naked. And till that time, till now, alhamdulillah, every single day Allah has given me food on my table. I've been wearing good clothes, I've been driving good cars as well. So all you can do is probably thank Allah Mia today. And this gratitude, ladies and gentlemen, will give you quite a lot of stuff to kind of build up on as well. And inshallah, you will have a beautiful life. So every single day, whenever I wake up, after my first kalma, the second thing I tell myself is, Allah ne tujhe bada dena hai, Shahzad, uth ja kaam karte hain.
Nice.
And I think that thinking or cultivating on this thought process is something which has always benefited
Oh, yes,
me.
absolutely.
What about you?
Well, yes, absolutely. I do agree with you where you said that if you manifest things, things are definitely going to come your way. And that is the way forward as well. And the sad thing, although, is a lot of people intentionally or sometimes even unintentionally don't really know what they're calling for in their life. You know how often someone says, careful what you wish for?
Yeah.
It is actually something because, well, like you said, you tell yourself, "Ki aaj utھ ke we have to, go after work and a lot of things are going to chase me." That is your mindset. So good things do chase you.
True.
So I really hope that all of those watching right now take Shahzad's mindset today forward and, attract all the positivity and goodness in your life today.
Exactly, because if you are supposed to ask from Allah Almighty, and if it is for Allah to give it to you, ask for everything, everything, and do not miss out on anything.
Yeah.
But today, I think, Shizad, that we've had the most interesting topic and the most amazing guest over here as well, who looks wonderfully well today.
Mashallah.
and there's a reason why we've actually picked up on topic. So first of all, Jamshed Saab, you've done a great job on picking up this topic as well. So today we're speaking about accusations and backbiting. A very common phenomena over here in Pakistan or worldwide, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that pretty much everybody kind of does that. if I will say that, I have never done that, I think it will be very wrong on my part as well. Which is why I thought that, first things first, I'm going to share my instance of how I've accused somebody or backbited about somebody as well, and I might be very sorry for that, and I should be very sorry for that. Yes, I should be. But it wasn't an accusation where, you can say that, yaar, kitni ghatiya baat kar di, so I'm not going to go down
Tell me,
that.
I'll judge.
Yeah, okay. So what happens is that whenever I've had an argument with my wife, so I know, I mean, she's really not scared of me. I think we have a very respectful,
Friendly,
we have a very respectful relationship. But whenever we're not talking to each other, what I do is that I kind of, whenever I sit with my mom, so I'm going to be like, oh, you know what, look at her, man. She does not put a piece of cloth over my pants, and, I can see the iron marks on my pants as well.
Right.
Which at times, whenever I've asked her, she's like, I always put like a cloth piece, and I know that, you kind of value your clothing and whatnot. So I think this is one accusation which I've kind of done, and I'm
deliberately
sorry.
You do
that.
that.
Deliberately, because we are not talking anyways, and I want her to kind of feel that pressure. I think this is something which I've done that, but backbiting, I mean, you can be an evidence of that as well, and I've never done that. I have never spoken anything bad about anybody, and there's a reason.
Okay.
The reason is, what I believe is that if, for example, they say that if you're going to help somebody in need, Allah is actually going to help you. It goes like this, even with such matters as well, because if you're going to hide somebody's secret,
yes,
Allah will hide your secrets as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do.
Have you accused somebody?
Okay, so I think it's the opposite for me though. I do not remember or even deliberately so accusing someone of something that they haven't done, because it really gets to me. I think, I mean, I start thinking of it as so annoying. Imagine if someone did that to me. I'd be so frustrated, and I'd actually think to myself, do I really have to clear up with this person, even if they already made a false accuse? So that's not that. But talking about backbiting, I feel like, yes, I am guilty over here, like a lot of people out there. And by backbiting, I think talking of someone who is not present at the moment does not necessarily mean always negative in our case. And where you said you don't, it's true, because I do remember there are times with co-workers, even I do bring up a story with Shazad, and I'm like, Shazad, this happened and I'm so hurt and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's okay. Allah is going to give you this, and that thing was written for that person. So it's okay. Let's get over it. So yes, I absolutely admire your that part of you.
Thank you very much for saying that.
But these are the things we are going to learn today. We all have flaws, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think any one of us is perfect. So why don't we get together, learn these things, and maybe together we can build a better society.
Exactly, and on how many levels is it wrong is something which we'll be discussing today as well, and that too as Muslims, because ladies and gentlemen, accusation and backbiting, I don't think that, there would be anybody who would actually say that, yeah, these are two good things to do.
I don't think I
these
know.
are not good things to do as well. And
not in any religion.
Yeah, and we want to kind of spearhead this movement as well, where we kind of convince people that, hey, you know what, if you've been doing it, I think it's about time that you say sorry to Allah and then start living a good life where you do not accuse anybody and you do not backbite about anyone. I think that people just enjoy backbiting, just because of the fact that we are intellectually so low that people do not have any kind of topic to kind of converse about, or they're not prepared. What they do is tend to talk about people.
Right.
And there are always three categories of people. The lowest one is
who talk
that
about
category
others.
who talk about people as well. So we're very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, that this amazing gentleman is over here in the studios with us. He looks great alongside his very amazing waistcoat as well once again. He's a great guy. Whenever he's on the show, we actually do not have to work very hard. Because he's a pro himself. Alhamdulillah, he's an institute he's running, and he's making sure that everybody out there has very clear mindset about what religion is and how to understand it and how to have a better understanding of it as well. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
I'm ready as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a religious scholar, and he happens to be Mr. Shaykh Tauqeer Sahab. Hello sir, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. You look great.
You always look good.
Shazad is a major fan, I'm just saying.
Thank you very much for saying that.
I remember last time he said at the start of the show that people should be praising people and not their dresses.
Yeah.
And at the end he said your waistcoat looks very nice.
And I stand corrected today. And I stand corrected
That's
today.
That's how a good human being should be.
Exactly. Alhamdulillah.
Brilliant.
So sir, to get started with accusations and backbiting, it happens quite a lot in every society and on every level as well. May it be a Bahusas relationship, may it be a work employee or an employer relationship, may it be anybody. And I think that the basic reason is that we are intellectually so low that we do not read books, we do not have anything to talk about. Rather, what we do is we end up talking about people. and sometimes the information is not even correct. And when the other person goes to the other person, he was like, you know, somebody said this about you, they're like, hey, you know what, this is actually not real, or it never happened.
Right.
So first of all, let's talk about why do you think this menace actually exists in our society, and then we'll come down towards what our religion tells us about people who accuse people or who backbite about people.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think you very rightly said one thing, that that people have to talk about something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is norm. I mean, I won't accuse any gender, apologies, but like, you know, some
He
people
looked
have
at me.
some people have the habit of talking more than others, but people just want to talk, right? They have a tongue and they want to use that. And whenever the people get together and then they want to say something. And generally people do not have any constructive things to talk about, unfortunately, and then they talk about others because that's the best topic that they have. They will just like pick up somebody, two people standing in an office environment or at home, and people will just pick somebody up and then they start talking about that. I think it's because of the misuse of the tongue. People just want to talk. You know, we have desires.
Right.
We want to look at things. We want to use our tongue for things. We want to use our hands for something. You know, all our desires. People want to fulfill their desires, and the desire of the tongue is that it wants to talk and talk and talk, right? So, I mean, mashallah, the way that you guys talk, and because
I think we saw
I
it
appreciate
coming.
actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
there are many good things that you talk about as well, but this is what tongue wants to do.
Exactly.
And when people do not have this constructive mindset, unfortunately, that's their favorite pastime, that they will just pick somebody up and talk. That's a problem, actually.
Yeah, that
It's not our Pakistani
It's
issue.
everywhere.
It's a universal thing. It's a universal issue. Yeah.
Right. And you know, that is so true because this was, I think, 2 days ago, I came across a report from a very reputable organization. They do give out sort of op-eds and stuff. And it said that gossiping at workplace may actually be healthy for you. And then I was like, hold on, how come this is the headline? And then I opened it. It actually was telling people how getting together at work and sitting and maybe, you know, gossiping and stuff can be good for you because you build relationships, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. It just didn't make sense to me. You can get together and talk about something constructive, right?
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what do they mean by gossiping, but I mean, if
Yeah, I
that
have no
meant
idea.
just like talking about unnecessary
people.
stuff, doesn't make sense, right,
Yeah.
at all. Because, you know, one thing, if you talk about from the religious perspective, or from human perspective, because religion has always come to protect people's rights. People do not understand religion. I mean, this is something that I go and preach everywhere, that people have misunderstood religion. Those people who are quote unquote religious, they say, oh, ye bada deeni insaan hai, bada deendaan insaan hai, he's a very religious person, he's a religious man or religious woman. All what they are talking about is, you know, he goes to the masjid, prays 5 times a day, or this girl covers up and things like that. Oh, she's very religious or he's very religious. Our religion has been confined to 5 daily prayers, fasting month of Ramadan, giving zakat, going for Hajj, Umrah, and that's it, or your attire. That's what people think that's religion. But really, this is just one part of religion, and it's a very, very small part of our religion. You know, so we build our foundation on our beliefs, right? Whatever we believe in. Ibadat, the faraid, the mandatory acts, the rituals, they are just one portion. There are 3 more things that are in our religion, which from terminology's perspective, they're called mu'asharat, mu'amalat, and akhlaqiyat. So basically the way that we live with each other,
The worldly affairs.
the contracts that we do with each other, be it a financial contract, be it a business contract, be it a contract, a marital contract, and our character. So these 3 things, the way that we live with each other, mu'asharat, contracts, and character, they're also part of our religion, and that's basically the bigger part of religion than the ibadah.
So it has more weightage.
It has more weightage.
Really? This is for the very first time that I actually come across
Really?
somebody saying that.
No,
So first thing
yeah.
first, the fara'id, the mandatory part, that is like,
It's there.
it's breathing.
And it's for you.
It's breathing.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I mean, people often ask, you know, why are there 5 daily prayers? You know, they want to understand it from logical perspective.
Yeah.
In order to understand that, we need to understand that we have a spirit within, we have a ruh within, right? So that's the nourishment of our ruh, just like we take meals, right, 3 times a day, 5 times a day. You know, we just keep on snacking all the time. Likewise, our ruh within, it also requires nourishment, and these 5 daily prayers is the nourishment of the ruh. It's like breathing, right? Nobody can say, I didn't eat, I will not eat tomorrow, I'll not eat for next 5 days. We have to eat in order to survive. So 5 daily prayers are necessary in order for our root to survive. That's necessary, right? That's important. Nobody can say, I breathed today, because if you had not breathed today, then you would have you would have been dead, right? Likewise, if I prayed 5 times today, it is nothing extraordinary that I've done. Actually, that's the breathing of or nourishment of my ruh. The deen comes on top of that, actually, right? So as I said, that muamalat, muasharat, akhlaqiyat, that has more weightage, and the proof is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said that on the day of judgment there will be a scale. We all know that, right? There will be a mizan on which the actions will be weighed. If there's no counter, there is a scale, right? And he said that the weightiest thing on that scale on the day of judgment will be character. Right? So it may be that I'm just doing my faraid, I'm praying my 5 daily prayers, I'm not getting up for tahajjud, maybe I'm not praying other nawafil, I'm not fasting outside Ramadan, maybe, right? But if our character is good, that will be the weightiest on the scale. And there is a person who is praying a lot, he's praying extra prayers, fasting extra, giving extra charity, but his character isn't good, right? So those things will not have that much weightage as will be the weightage of the character on the day of judgment.
And that sort of also gives you a massive satisfaction that only God can judge, right?
Exactly.
Imagine if we left that to people.
Sure.
But moving on, Mufti Sahib, now I want to talk about accusations or botan that we say in Urdu as well. It's not something like you said, it's not just a Pakistani thing, it happens everywhere. And we have even read, stories or historical events from where Hazrat Aisha Radhiyallahu anha was accused of things and, how it was dealt and everything. So what can you tell us from the religion about accusations? Because lately, it's so easy to assume. You see something on social media, you build up a story in your head, and then the story that you built, you tell those to other people. And that is a form of butan, I feel like.
Exactly. And so before you answer that, because, we were talking about character, I think, people who actually accuse or people who backbite, I think that they're damaging their character anyways, So let's correlate that how it's going to impact or have an impact on your character as well, and how people would perceive, and then coming down to why people do it.
Yeah, I'll take a step back.
Sure.
I'll take. We were talking about religion, that its beliefs, its rituals, and 3 more things. Basically, if you look into these 3 things, the muamalat, the muasharat, and the akhlaqiyat part, the way that we live with each other, the contracts, and our character, it has to deal with other people, right? So our religion comes to teach us as to how to live as a society, right? So that's what it proves, right? And everybody has a right. You have rights. You have rights. Everybody has a right. They have their hukuk, right? And our religion teaches us that we must give people their rights, right? And it's a very, very broad topic. But one of the rights that people have is their respect and honor. That's a universal right. That's a human right. And that's a religious right as well, right? It's very unfortunate that we do not understand that we talk about human rights. There are rallies about human rights, this and that. Where are the rallies about this human right of respect, mutual respect, right? Whenever we sit together, we sit together and talk about somebody else, right? We are actually taking away his right, which is his respect. We are not honoring him and respecting him, right? And an accusation is another thing, right? It's even worse than that, maybe more than backbiting, or maybe they can be similar. That he hasn't done anything, she hasn't done anything, and we are just saying that he or she has done something. We are taking away his human right, and that's what religion has come to respect. And there is a whole surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Hujurat, and I encourage everybody that they should go and read Surah Al-Hujurat, because in Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned these human rights. It's very amazing that Quran is it's not a comprehensive book. It's a very concise book. The detail and the explanation of that has come to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. But if you go to Surah Al-Hujurat, in very much detail, it talks about these human rights. It talks about, don't humiliate anybody, don't backbite anybody, and so much so that it says that if you backbite somebody, as we all know, but it's in the Quran, that if you backbite somebody, it is as if you're eating the flesh of your dead brother. And your brother, your real brother, has passed away, and instead of honoring him, washing him, burying him, somebody takes a knife, maazallah, and start cutting him and start eating his flesh. Allah Ta'ala said it's just like that. It's he or she was your brother who you are backbiting, and it is as if you're eating the dead, the flesh of your dead brother. And then Allah Ta'ala also says, do not accuse anybody, do not, as I said, do not humiliate anybody, and Allah Ta'ala, do not make fun of anybody. That's all in Surah Al-Hujurat. And unfortunately, because we have not gone back to the Quran, our resources, we do not take that on board. And so basically it's about human rights.
Exactly. And so I believe that I'm going to add on to this as well, that why unfortunately we have actually fallen prey to this menace as well. And even for example, if today wherever you're going to kind of look, even in the world leadership, we see that these worldly leaders to kind of get some votes, what they do is that they kind of vote onto somebody else, and they accuse somebody else, and they do it, and it's a normal practice. But I want to kind of come back to where you actually gave a reference of a Quranic ayah as well. And so I was listening to, and I make sure that to kind of cleanse my character, I listen to Quran translation as well, and Dr. Israr Sahab, Allah Pak, may his soul rest in peace as well. So he was saying, somebody was there and he was asking that, Dr. Sahab, kind of tell us that, how should we kind of recite Quran that we actually understand it? Because every time I go back and read the same ayah, it has a very different interpretation for me. So Dr. Israr Sahab said that, that I'm only going to give you one solution, that is that read Quran as Baddu used to read Quran as well. And it was a little hard for me to kind of comprehend it, that Baddus might actually have a brain to themselves as well, and they might kind of think about something. So let's go back to better understanding of Quran and religion as well, because then we can kind of eradicate all of these menaces from within our own society if we want to be good Muslims, and if we want to portray good character, or if we want to have character. So let's go back to how should we understand Quran in the first place.
One of my teachers said that read Quran as if Allah Ta'ala has revealed that to you, right? Because unfortunately, when we read Quran, first thing first, we don't try to understand. It's like amongst all Muslims, this is what we have done. We have left Quran. We don't recite that. Unfortunately, tilawat nahi karte hain. So, but those who do, I don't think that, I think it's only 5% or maybe even less who try to understand what Quran is all about. We should go, mashallah, it's very amazing that you go back, you read the translation. But whenever we also read the translation, I also suggest that we should also read the commentary of that as well, because there are many verses of the Quran which might have an understanding which we will not be able to understand just by reading the translation. But the fourth thing is that I should read that as I've said, that it is revealed to me, as God is talking to me personally. Honestly, the impact that it will have, that will be amazing, because it may be, Allah Ta'ala is talking about the arrogant people, and I'm thinking, oh, he is arrogant or she is arrogant. But when if I look into my own self, maybe I'm arrogant, right? I mean, this maybe it's about me, right? Then I will start reflecting on my own self and maybe start correcting myself. So this is one of the key things, that as if it is revealed to me, and it will have very, very deep impact on you.
So first thing you're telling is that it's all about self-actualization in the first place, that you actually have to actualize it first. Now, there are two things, and I believe it was very interesting, and never knew that, that this is how it was. So while listening to the bayan by Dr. Israr Sahab, Dr. Israr Sahab was saying that, when the first wahi actually came down to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were no eyes involved and there were no ears involved. It was to the ruh. That's what he spoke. And when we talk about namaz or the daily prayers, it's food for soul itself. But now, so the problem comes where we have misinterpretation. Now, for example, Muslims, we vouch for 4 marriages every single day. And, wherever we might go and whenever we have an argument with anybody, we're like, oh, we're allowed to marry 4 times. But as a matter of fact, to my understanding, and you can correct me as well, it is that, that nuzul of the ayah took place after a war or a ghazwa, probably then. And, there was no such management system to kind of look after the bewas then, or the widows. So that's when the ayah actually came down. So you can correct me on that as well, but how we use it or how we interpret it for our good is something very different, because we're not going to talk about the rights of women, we're not going to talk about how we need to kind of look after our children, and Quran tells us about every facet of life as well. Why do we misinterpret things to our good? Why do we do that? And I believe it's a bad habit.
I think we are changing the topic here.
Sure. I know, but it's for a better understanding.
Okay.
Now, this is why I said that we should go back to the commentary. We should. There are many, many ayahs of the Quran that just by reading the translation of that, we will not be able to understand a lot of things. So we need to also read, because I mean, I'm not going into the four marriages thing right now, because that is a total separate. Yeah, that's a total different topic, and it needs time, and we need to understand that. So I'm purposely not talking about that topic right now. But the concept, talking about the concept of understanding Quran. The reason I said that we need to go back to the commentary, because there are many, many things that are tied to the reasons for revelation of certain ayat, right? So something has happened, as you said, something has happened, and ayat have been revealed. And if you relate those ayat, those verses to the situation that in which those ayat were revealed, then you will be able to understand, oh, you know, what does it actually mean? Because there are many, many ayat, there are many verses that came down, for example, in the Battle of Uhud, for example. They're very much related to that incident, and you only understand that when you understand the Battle of Uhud. For example, I'm just giving an example. So understanding Quran is an art. Some people say, oh, it's not, because Quran says, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, that Quran, Allah Ta'ala says, I revealed Quran, and it's easy for you to understand. Is there anybody who's to reflect? But then we also need to understand that Quran has different portions. It has some fiqh rulings, it has history, it has some historical stories, and other things. It has some admonitions, it has some advices, etc. So this verse actually talks about those things that are just advices, or talking about Jannat and Jahannam, or things like that. So that's easy to understand. But then there are some rulings which has to be interpreted, and that needs a lot of study and a lot of background as well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for saying that, because if I would have said that to somebody, people would have thought, or they might have been in a doubt. So this coming from you, I wanted this to understand, so that our audiences can actually kind of relate with it as well. And now, from now on, even if somebody's watching, they'll be like, okay, this is how we kind of need to read Quran as well. Thank you very much.
We need to, first thing I repeat, we need to please go back to the Quran, please. We need to go to the sources. People keep on just commenting, oh, falane ye keh diya, falane ye keh diya, he said this, he said, oh, I should not be following religion because look at this person and look at these people. Don't look at people, and that's again, we're just talking about others. If you don't like somebody, that just go back to the sources, go to the Quran, read the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, read his biography, and and understand yourself. And so we need to go back to the Quran, but I also encourage, as we said, that read a commentary and try to understand Quran.
Wonderful.
Well, brilliant. I really hope some, a lot of people take this message for today at least forward as well. But now, coming back to those two particular things that we started the show with, accusing someone and backbiting. So if we talk about self-realization or self-actualization for that matter, and if you have a stronger character, at this point you might be thinking to yourself, okay, I have done this or this at this point in my life. Or if you haven't, well, good enough for you. But if you have and you really want to change that, it's a good thing. We are going to definitely ask Mufti Sahab how to go about that. But sometimes it also gets hard, Mufti Sahab, because the type of people that we live in, or the type of circle that we have, where, well, generally they're the people that we talk to. If you stop, you're the one stopping, but 5 other people are not, then you're the odd one out.
They get uncomfortable.
And
the other people, when you do not actually do it, and when people want you to do it as well,
they're
and you kind of don't do it on purpose, everybody else gets uncomfortable. As okay, yaar, ye to bol hi nahi raha, hum phas jayenge.
Holier than thou thing comes in it as well, and then the person who's actually trying to be good questions himself. Do I actually belong here? Should I do this? So what are the actual practical steps of forcing yourself to not do these things?
First thing first, there is a principle in our deen by Allah Ta'ala that, that's a very famous saying that as you do social, you reap, right? As you sow social, you reap. That's a principle in our deen, tit for tat. Whatever happens, you do, so shall be done to you. If we keep that in our mind, I think that we'll be able to stay away from a lot of things. For example, if I humiliate somebody, I'll be humiliated in some part of my life, for sure. If I respect somebody, I'll be respected. There are numerous ahadith about that, right? Whatever you hide somebody's fault, and God will hide your fault. If you help somebody, God will help you, etc. Right? So if I understand that, I'll be able to stay away from a lot of wrong things because I know that this will be coming to me at some point of my life. Two, we always talk about social issues, and I know you guys talk about social issues the most here,
We're
sitting in
paid
this
to do
every
that.
day, right? And we want to correct our social issues, isn't it? In order to correct our social issues, somebody needs to be bold and brave, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to be different.
Yeah.
If I'm not different, I mean, he is taking bribe, and he's taking bribe social. Right? Then this bribe will never go away.
Yeah,
He is corrupt, so shall I be corrupt. This corruption is never going to go away. In order to fix our social issues, somebody need to stand up and say, I'm not corrupt. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take bribes. I'm going to do things in a proper way, right? And same is this. You guys are backbiting.
But then you're clearly the odd one out in those people.
You know what? There are tricks to manage these situations as well.
Okay.
Sometimes our family members also, maybe your mother say, "Oh, Fala, I see and so, how's the weather like? It's very cold today, right? So you change the topic or things like that. There are ways. I mean, I've tried that. That's why I'm saying it. That just try to change the topic, just like you guys do. I mean, so you're talking about something and suddenly you start talking about something else.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we are really serious about bringing a change,
We can do that.
I can tell you, we can do that. Many a times we are not ready to bring that change. I mean, we are also enjoying that topic.
I think we're also scared sometimes. I don't know how people are going to react to our change or be accepted and
This
stuff.
is true as well, but that's what I said. Somebody needs to be brave and bold in order to bring a change. All the time, whenever change has been brought, it is because of somebody who has been brave enough to bring
Absolutely.
that change. And I tell you one more thing: if you start something, there will always be another person who will stand with you.
Yeah.
It'll be two and two becomes four, four and four becomes
Chain
eight,
reaction,
and there will be a change in the society. That's very, very important.
Exactly, and
Brilliant.
that's something which we want, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see this change as well because this place where we live and the people we surround ourselves with, it's just going to be so amazing. Imagine everybody talking about something constructive rather than talking
I
about any
wish.
other people, or talking about how different ideas can be brought to life as well. Is something which will actually help our economy too as well. It will give us a very peaceful and sound mindset as well, and that's something which we are going to build up on as well. But at this very moment, I think we really need to head out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, we will actually kind of talk about how to remind ourselves every single day that, okay, I'm on this new journey and I have to remember it every single day, and I have to kind of make sure that I inspire other people to do so. And because we want this chain reaction to take place, that's something which we'll be talking about. What are those techniques? Because the way Shaykh Sahab said, and I kind of agree to it 100%, because when you see that everybody's kind of taking bribe or everybody's taking advantage of other people as well, you're like, okay, if everybody's doing it, let me do it. First things first, it's not right, obviously. If somebody else is doing it, you're not supposed to do it. Your religion kind of forbids you from doing that as well. And then there's this very common thing which I've always seen, and that is that imagine that if somebody's going to pass by in a bigger car, the people just normally say, haram ka paisa hai. I mean, how would you know? Please make sure that you stop judging people. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, where today Shazad Khan and myself, Shaza Hashmi, we have taken a pledge to learn with you guys how to improve and strengthen our character. Well, throughout the show, we have been talking about how, sort of backbiting or accusing someone is actually ripping them off their basic human right of being dignified or having the honor to themselves as well, or the respect, yes, definitely. And speaking of human rights, Shazad, definitely it's a huge spectrum, but today specifically, ladies and gentlemen, there is one human right that is continuously, even in today's modern world, being violated, and that happens to be that of forced disappearances. So today, as a member of the United Nations states, we are going to be observing the International Day for recognition of, or actually condemnation of, forced disappearances as well. We have a small report to share with you, but before that, I just want to say, imagine when you talk about an revolution, sorry, and that too 4 times now into the 5th one. And then you talk about modernization in a way that still there are hundreds of thousands of people who do not have the answer to, for first of all, they have been abducted illegally, unauthorized, never answered for, taken into an area where no laws apply, no international humanitarian, no religious, no social or national law applies. Imagine the frustration of those people, or just the quality of life of those people. This is a basic human right, right?
Yes. And adding on to that, I think, for the audiences to understand, I think that everybody kind of needs to look towards the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, or probably Palestine for that matter as well. But we do have a small report to share. Please go ahead, take a look, have a better understanding, and if you can voice that, that'll be great too as well.
Let's do it.
Today marks the International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances, recognized by the UN in 2010 and observed for the first time in 2011. Today, enforced disappearance is a global issue as it is not restricted to any specific region of the world. It involves the secret, illegal, and unauthorized abduction or imprisonment of a person, followed by a refusal to acknowledge the person's fate and whereabouts with the intention of placing the victim outside the protection of law. It qualifies as a crime against humanity, violates multiple human rights, and breaches international humanitarian law along with several United Nations conventions. Enforced disappearances spread terror and insecurity, which affects not only the close relatives of the disappeared but also their communities and society as a whole. The victims' rights are violated and they remain in a state of constant fear for their lives. To combat this global phenomenon, certain groups and coalitions are actively working to help the relatives of disappeared persons discover their whereabouts. The International Day also serves to raise awareness about this issue.
Exactly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was a brief report, and now we're going to come down to what we were actually talking about as well, where we were talking about how, kind of accusing somebody for something which they haven't done is bad on how many levels, and how religion kind of condemns it as well, and how backbiting is bad as well, and that you really need to have a stronger character. You have to remind yourself, if you are on that path, or if you think about it, if you realize it yourself, only then you can stand corrected as well. But sir, as a matter of fact, there's this one more confusion in it, and that is that what if we tell somebody about someone which they have actually done and it was a wrong deed? What do we call it? It's not accusation. This is something which they have done. And then sharing somebody's that odd secret or that bad secret with somebody else, is it wrong on many levels?
Backbiting?
Yeah. First thing first, I think Shiza rightly defined backbiting, and that is something that you talk about somebody in their absence.
Yeah.
That if it was to be said in front of them, they would have disliked that.
Yeah.
So that's the definition.
Or we might not have said it in front of them anyways, because it was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, but just as per the definition, because the Prophet, peace be upon him, he defined backbiting as such. And somebody asked, what if that thing is in that person?
Yeah.
So he said that's backbiting. If it was not in that person, that would have been an accusation.
That's
right?
Absolutely.
So,
somebody's seen me on television today. So they're like, Shaykh Saab's on TV, hey, call him.
So that would have been accusation. So that's wrong. But at times that had to be done. That has to be done. And that is, so for example, somebody comes to you and say, you know what, I'm going to go and rob at somebody's place, right? Now, you must tell the other person, you know what, Fala person is coming to rob at your place, because if you had not told him, that would have harmed that person.
True.
So there are certain times when you have to talk about the other person at their backs. And actually they have been very clearly defined by our scholars, that one of them is this, that if you think that there is a harm that can be inflicted on somebody by somebody, you must tell the other person about that person, or maybe you have to ask for a ruling, right? For a legal ruling, you can't talk about others, and that's all proven through Sirat. Somebody, a Sahabiya came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, my husband is a very miserly man. Can I go and just take from his money without asking him?
Yeah.
So she's telling him about him being miser, and that would have been a backbiting, and generally speaking. But because she was asking about a legal ruling, a fatwa, that's also okay.
Okay.
Or you go to the police and tell about somebody, of course, go to the court and tell about somebody. So there are certain places where it is allowed to talk about
The
other
other person.
person at their back that will not be considered as backbiting.
True.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Wow.
But but then these things are so technical and there are so many layers to it, because just you telling this example of how and when it is appropriate to tell on someone. But then there are, Mufti Sahib, a lot of people who, even in the time of need, choose to stay silent, and that I do call hypocrisy. And you know what I mean? There are some personalities this is so innate in them that when it is the time for them to call out something, they choose to be silent. And being neutral in such times, I cannot deal with such people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it right? Am I making sense?
That's true. In fact, that's another topic altogether as
I
well.
know,
You know what?
sorry.
It's very unfortunate that there are so many oppressions that are happening in our society,
Absolutely.
and that's not spoken about. I mean, Alhamdulillah, I really dislike social media, but one of the benefits of social media is that
The
there are certain
voice.
things that are being raised now which were not raised
Absolutely.
before. Yeah, that's also, you're right, absolutely right, that there are certain things that have not been said which should have been said, and things must be corrected. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think I'm going to appreciate over here, because after the Minar-e-Pakistan incident as well, the Justice Sahib actually made a very amazing statement, and he said that no matter what happened, because people were talking about the character of that lady as well, and he actually gave the statement that it does not really matter to the court whether what kind of character he or she holds, but it is the responsibility of the state to kind of give justice to everybody equally, and I think that that's how people kind of really need to think as well. But now, Sheikh Sahib, towards the end of the program, what I want is that half of the time we do want to change things every single day when we wake up. That's how I think that okay, yaar, Shahzad, these are the things which you really need to follow and remind yourself about them. But there are times when we kind of forget about those things.
True.
We're in our own vibe. We're talking with friends. We're sitting down. We forget about the promises we made to ourselves and how we have to stand by them. And then at times we do slip. And when we slip, we kind of make the same old mistake. And whenever we talk about making mistakes as well, इंसान तो है ही खताकार, अल्लाह माफ़ करने वाला है और अल्लाह से माफ़ी मांगनी चाहिए. So how do we stand corrected every time, God forbid, if we have made a mistake and we made a promise that अल्लाह मियाँ अब हम नहीं करेंगे, हम तौबा करते हैं, तो क्या करें जब गलती हो
It's
जाए?
very, very, mashallah, very important point that you have raised. For that we need to understand life. Unfortunately, we forget who are we, why are we here, where are we going. These three questions, right? Who are we, why are we here, and where are we going? And if you understand who are we, like where are we coming from? You said at the start, we came without clothes,
Yeah.
right? And we were so weak, and we didn't even know anything. And today, we have learned a few things, and we start thinking that as if I'm the most powerful person on
Cheetah
the
hi
earth. Yeah. So we need to understand who are we, what are we doing here in this life, what's the purpose of life. Unfortunately, we have lost the purpose of life, and where are we ending? We have to go back to God. Of course, there will be a day that our ruh will be taken out and it'll go somewhere else. We need to remind that to ourselves every single day of our life. It's not like once a month, once a year, in Ramadan. No, every single day of our life. And that's one of the beauties of the prayers, 5 prayers every day. It's not like, going to your place of worship once a week or once in a while. Every day, 5 times. We are doing things here. A couple of hours later, inshallah, there'll be Zohar time. We'll stand up in front of God and say, you know what, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing phenomenon, the prayers, 5
is.
daily prayers. So if we understand, the prayers, we need to remind ourselves. I can tell you, just this thing can help us fix ourselves, to build ourselves, inshallah ta'ala. And as you rightly said, we all make mistakes. We make mistakes every day. But this is also the beauty of our religion, you know, just a guilt here, you know, oh, my tongue slipped, oh, you know, I did wrong to somebody, I'm sorry, right? I just go in, I'm sorry, right? If it was between me and God, God, I'm sorry, Allah, I'm
Right.
sorry, right? That's it, right? And we again stand up, again start walking. It may be that we slip again, we again stand up by saying sorry. But for that, in order to just say sorry, we need to understand, you know, where are we going, what's going on, who are we, and where where we ending.
Wow,
So,
wonderful.
All
So
right. This
for
was
everybody out there, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that, you know, Sheikh Sahib has actually made it simpler for us as well, and that's how our religion is. It's very simple. So for everybody who wants to stand corrected, all you need to say is, first of all, kill your ego and then be like, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, I'm extremely sorry.
No, definitely, because to err is human, and it is so natural for all of us to, you know, someday at some point to make a mistake. We're not perfect, all of us, right?
Yeah.
But realizing that mistake, not putting a pin to it actually, focusing on it, changing yourself is actually how life will move you forward as well. When we talk about you or the element of change, that also begins within you, not just in the society as well, right? So if you change yourself first, that is only how you can make a ripple effect, and then eventually things around you are going to be better for you as well, inshallah. But thank you so much, Sheikh Saab, as always,
Thank you
being
very
so
much.
enlightened and then enlightening us as well.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we really hope that you did take something away from this show. The only purpose for us arranging these sort of topics is that we do leave you guys with a thought maybe, if not the entire show, so that if thought stays in your head for the rest of the day, we are sure it's going to make a change, inshallah.
And to be very honest, I think that this is something which in the later stages, because alhamdulillah, it's been 8 years that we've been doing this morning show as well, that I used to think that Allah has given me this opportunity every single day, that I have 1 hour to kind of speak about the goodness in life as well, and how we really need to kind of go back to Allah in everything which we think about as well. And I'm happy that I've taken advantage of this opportunity as well. Please make sure that you do that with your friends, with your family members as well. And there's no harm in kind of correcting your own self as well, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be a better version of yourself, and that's all what we want as well. So please make sure to write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well, this morning.
on Twitter,
Well, this morning.
on
without a
Instagram,
shade. Well, this morning.
and the repeat's going to be at
5 past midnight tonight.
till the next time. Look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good
Good morning.
morning.
Take care.
Thank you.